Recently, when searching for ideas for my next video, I ended up stumbling upon one of the strangest rabbit holes that I've ever been down. Since finding this, I've searched everywhere for relevant information, but it's so hard to find good solid facts around this discovery. And truthfully, this whole situation is shaping up to be one of the most intriguing mysteries that I've ever delved into. This is a video about what may very well be the largest and darkest cult here on YouTube. Now, sometimes when you find an internet mystery, it winds up going in a direction that you could have never guessed. Oftentimes, what appears to be an intriguing case turns out to simply be another internet ARG. But on a few occasions, the mystery goes the opposite direction. It gets deeper, and the further you look, the further down the rabbit hole you get. And some of these rabbit holes seemingly have no end. And in this case, this is exactly what happened. In February of 2020, Redditor Grog2002 posted on the Internet Mysteries subreddit. He said, "There is a weird cult on YouTube where people record some audio and play it backwards and try to decipher speech from it." In the post, he goes on to explain that he stumbled upon two channels independently. They posted strange content of themselves talking backwards and then reversing the audio. Typically, these posts were creepy and dark and had almost kind of satanic overtones to them.
You stupid fox. Jesus, this sounded puppy wearing drakes.
But that's when he realized something strange. These two separate channels he had found had the same people commenting on their videos, and all of these comments shared unusual similarities, as most featured the term blood. Except this wasn't used in the regular context of the word blood, rather it was used in strange terms like blood thick and blood brother. These comments quickly appeared to me to be some kind of inside phrase between the commenters, and this was the first signal that this was some kind of group. Now, when you look at some of the other videos posted on these channels, people have been leaving comments referring to Satan in quite a strange way, thus making this all appear even more bizarre. So with the backwards speaking videos, the satanic overtones, and the small community posting these strange comments, Grog2002 decided to go to Reddit in search of answers. He theorized that this could simply be a group of edgy people who are still hailing Satan, or potentially some kind of cult. But whatever it was, he believed that these two channels posting similar content were the keys to understanding this mystery. And the backwards videos were almost like rituals that linked this group together. And based off of the information he provided, this seems like a logical starting place. But as it turns out, these two groups were just one of thousands out there on YouTube, and the rituals that bound them together were much, much darker. As a few more Redditors began investigating the case, they started finding more and more related channels in this group. 2 channels turned to 10, and then 30, and now is at a number that's too high to fully determine. I mean, the scale of this all is just relatively huge. And when you click on any of these pages and look under the Channels tab, they all link to hundreds of other channels that post similar content to them. And when you do the same with one of those channels, you'll find hundreds more. These people are all part of one massive group on YouTube, and they all follow and support each other, which is actually kind of sweet in a way. But it gets creepier. So we have this group, but what actually binds them together? What is this group founded on? Well, it seems to be a ritual called blood over intent. If you look on any one of these channels, they all have videos posted about this practice. And before explaining what this is, I'll let you watch one for yourself.
And I don't have to preach too much because my blood brothers and sisters know where we're coming from, and you're the only ones we're the only ones that are gonna, have a divine purpose and connection with each other. But until our family grows, and it is, folks. So I've seen a growth in our family, and but until you have divine, I intend to release everyone from bondage of time and money. I have spiritual currency that runs in my blood to release everyone from bondage.
So pretty strange, right? These videos feature a piece of paper, someone pricking their finger so it bleeds, and them rubbing the blood all over the paper. This is blood over intent, but what actually is it? Well, as I mentioned earlier, it's very hard to find information on this ritual, but after researching and gauging the motives of those who posted these videos, here is what it appears to be. This is blood magic. Now defined, blood magic is simply the use of a few drops of your own blood to create a magical bond between yourself and a spell. And the rituals associated with blood magic all stem around you intentionally releasing your own blood. And this blood magic, in the context of these videos, is being done allegedly so that people can charge what is known as the sigil. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that right, sorry if I'm not. But in magic, a sigil is the manifestation of your outcomes, and that typically requires a sacrifice to charge it. So what this group is doing is writing out something that they want to happen on a piece of paper and dripping blood over it as a sacrifice so that it comes true. Some of these rituals are done for a personal desire, but most are done to, quote, bring forth heaven onto earth for the benefit of all, which will make more sense later. It kind of goes along with the whole speaking it into existence idea, except here they are basically sacrificing it into existence. It's a strange yet interesting concept, but it does have an element of risk involved. For starters, blood is said to be one of the most powerful ways to charge your sigil. And in many cases, believers in blood magic will often say that its powers are potentially dangerous, especially for beginners, as it can be hard to contain. And in most other faiths, blood magic is used very sparingly. For example, in Wicca, blood magic is explained by saying this: despite the dramatic effects you'll see in movies and on television, most witches use blood magic only rarely and for very specific purposes. It's not something that's undertaken on a whim, but with proper safety precautions, blood magic can be a mighty boost to spell work. Most experienced practitioners agree that blood magic isn't for beginners, because there are plenty of other things you can use for magical links before you get to the powerful use of your own blood. And this is literal witchcraft that we're talking about here, and they still really aren't fully messing around with this stuff. But meanwhile, we have new people performing this blood over intent ritual every single day. Now apparently putting your blood to something is a very big deal in the context of magic, and it binds you to the outcome no matter what. It allegedly brings forth your imagined desires into the physical world. So this is pretty serious stuff that we're dealing with here if you were to believe in the idea of rituals and dark magic. And the issue with this ritual is that a lot of first-timers and people who don't know enough about what this group actually is are just kind of jumping into it. So these people are using allegedly one of the most powerful types of sacrifices without really knowing anything about it. It's pretty crazy, honestly. And even if you're like me and aren't a believer in this kind of stuff, it's still definitely creepy. Plus, stripping everything else away from this does qualify as the promotion of self-harm. I understand that it's on a very small scale, but at the end of the day, that's still what this boils down to. And this is typically the biggest factor that has rubbed people the wrong way with this movement, because it's fairly disturbing, and it only gets more disturbing from here.
I am fucking Satan himself in the flesh, get over it.
So as I mentioned before, dropping your blood onto a sheet of paper is basically viewed as a contract in this belief system. and it's one of those things that you just can't go back on unless you take special measures. But it's more than just a contract to your desire. It's also seemingly a contract to this group. Now, I don't think this group actually has a name, but it consists of many people I mentioned before who partake in these rituals. And these people refer to others in the group as blood brothers and blood sisters. And it all seems very tight-knit as they quickly post comments on each other's videos in support. And this group has a leader. Mark Braun was the first person to post a blood over intent video back in 2013. On YouTube, he goes by the name of Quasi-Luminous, and he proclaims that he himself is the reincarnation of Satan. He began this movement and has since encouraged others to join him in sacrificing their blood for intent. He claims that he actually has opened the book of life, and that he only has 144,000 names in it, and the only way to get your name in the book is to follow his ritual. According to Braun, if you don't spill your blood to sign your name, then you will be doomed in an endless cycle of pointless suffering and death. So basically he's saying, do this ritual to join this group, or you're going to die. And taking everything we know about this into perspective, if you perform the blood over intent ritual, you are in turn signing a contract with Satan, or someone who claims to be him. So it appears that Mark has predicted some type of apocalyptic event, and the only way for you to survive is to sign that phrase that I had mentioned earlier and drop your blood onto it. This in turn supposedly manifests your desire to survive and proves to Satan that you are living. And the devout believers in this group truly believe that this man claiming to be Satan will lead them to salvation. Along with this creepy note, members of the group also seemingly push the idea that the earth is flat and that shape-shifting reptiles live among us. So the group is clearly heavily influenced by conspiracy theories, and these conspiracies basically constitute as a belief system for them. Now perhaps the darkest part of this group is the fact that people are performing blood over intent rituals without any idea of its history. They are doing these rituals because they are desperate to manifest their desires, yet they have no idea that they are also signing a contract to apparently join Satan's group.
So it's just like, maybe a lot of us did the wrong thing by spilling our blood. I honestly, this video is me saying that I jumped into it too soon. I wish I wouldn't have spilled, my blood over my intent twice, right there, 1 and 2. Try to make a sigil on this one, not even really understanding stuff. And I honestly think that a lot of other people don't really understand what it is either.
And once they are a part of this group, there is no easy way out. What I failed to mention before was that in order to complete this ritual, you have to film it and post it to YouTube. Like that's actually the final step of the blood over intent ritual, according to most of its members. And once you do this, members of the group find your videos and add you to their channels list. This way they can keep up to date on you. And this is why so many of the people are all subscribed to each other. And in a way, this is also done so that they can monitor what you say about their group. If you make a video criticizing the movement or tell people that you're leaving the movement, then members of the group take exception. Take this video for example. Here, someone who has originally performed the BOI ritual spoke out against it, and she was met with some harsh comments, with some insinuating that she could never leave the movement because she had already signed up. And any video you find that speaks out against this group is typically met with the group mass disliking it, which is probably going to happen to this video if we're being real. But to me, this is one of the scariest parts to all this. I mean, it's a group that you apparently can't leave once you join, and they go on the attack if you say something negative about them. Like, it's all very creepy, and it goes way past the performing of a simple ritual. Now, is this group actually a cult? Now, I want to be as fair as possible when answering this question, so let's take a look at the definition of a cult. A cult is a system of religious veneration and devotion directed towards a particular figure or object. Well, this is a ritual performed to join Satan's group, so already this kind of fits the definition. But looking up actual indications of cults, I've realized that there are multiple red flags here. For starters, the founder of this faith literally claims to be Satan himself, and claiming to be a reincarnation of a religious figure to get people to join your movement is always going to be a big red flag. Also, cults will typically not tolerate critical inquiry. And with this group, that seems to be the case for the most part. They seem incredibly closed off to criticism. Those who want to leave the movement and talk about it publicly are always painted in a negative light and shamed for doing so. Again, this is consistent with cult-like behaviors. Many cults will speak of an impending disaster that causes members to cling to the group and its leaders out of fear.
Your only chance to evacuate is to leave with us.
And as mentioned previously, the leader of this group and ritual explicitly said that if you don't do the ritual, then you're going to die. That is as good of an example of fear-mongering as you'll ever hear. And not to mention the fact that in order to complete your ritual, you have to post your video on the internet, which this to me makes no sense and clearly shows that this is mandated simply to spread the ritual around and to increase its popularity. And the red flags go on from there, but honestly, I think you guys get the point. Piecing this all together, this group certainly is a cult. It fits the criteria and therefore should be considered one. And because of its leader claiming to be Satan, you can confidently say that this is a satanic cult. So all in all, what we have here is truly the biggest and the darkest cult that I have ever seen on YouTube. Now this rabbit hole was extremely interesting for me to go down. What started simply as a few strange channels turned into the discovery of a massive cult. But if this video has taught me anything, it's that there really are so many scary things going down here on YouTube that are totally flying under the radar. And it makes me wonder what other dark things we'll find.